Variety exclusively announced who will play him. The indestructible spirit of chaos that brings true terror to Hogwarts and drives the caretaker Filch absolutely crazy.
Peeves, the poltergeist.
The city in Brazil. Hey there, wizards. How's it going? After some time without any big news about the Harry Potter series, today we got some really cool confirmation that came from Variety, exclusively about the actor who will play Peeves. According to them, Peter Serafinowicz is the one who will bring to life this iconic character from the books, who was unfortunately completely cut from the Harry Potter movies. That's right, the reckless, maniacal, and chaotic poltergeist who makes the lives of first-year students a real hell whenever he can, and drives the Hogwarts staff a little crazy. And he's the terror of the caretaker Filch. He already has a face. I don't know about you, but I've always been a fan of Peeves. I know there's a portion of fans who think that cutting him from the movies was actually a good thing, that he didn't make a difference, but I completely disagree with that. I think Peeves is important to the story, yes. In fact, he is present in moments that end up leading to some important events, like when Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville find Fluffy for the first time. That only happens because Peeves is there in the scene and they need to run away and hide from him. And he starts yelling for Filch, saying there are students out of bed. And so, that's how they end up at the door where Fluffy is. That was completely changed in the movie, right? Because the staircase just changes and they end up finding Fluffy there by accident, so it's okay. Peeves doesn't have that importance of, wow, look how he's the main character. But he does have a certain relevance there, and he's part of Hogwarts. He's simply part of the school's story. And not having him in the story, for me, is a loss.
Several changes had to be made in the movies precisely because Peeves was cut.
A cool fact about the movies that maybe some people don't know is that Peeves was actually supposed to be in Sorcerer's Stone. In fact, they even filmed scenes with the actor Rick Mayall, who was going to play him.
He was a British actor and comedian who ended up passing away in 2014. He actually filmed scenes and was paid for it.
But then, a week or a few weeks before the movie was released, he got a call saying, "Look, we're going to have to cut your character." He was even invited to the premiere, you know? But he didn't go, he was filming other things. But he let his kids go in his place. And then, his kids watched the movie without knowing he had been cut. And when they got home, they said, "Wow, Dad, what cool makeup. You were amazing, we couldn't even tell it was you," because they thought he had played Hagrid. He didn't mention being cut or which character he played, but for some reason his kids thought he was Hagrid. There's also a behind-the-scenes photo of Rick Mayall.
And I don't know if this picture is actually from Harry Potter. If it is, it's a good thing it was cut from the movies, because they were going to make Peeves as a ghost.
And Peeves isn't a ghost, he's a poltergeist. A poltergeist was never a living person who died and became a ghost. He's an indestructible spirit of chaos that comes from human emotions. In the case of a poltergeist, it's where there's a lot of chaos and a lot of mess, like a school, right? Which is very suitable. It ends up being a good environment for a poltergeist to be born. And that's where Peeves came from. So, if it really were that image of Peeves, played by Rick Mayall in the movies, it wouldn't be what the character really is in the books, right? Which is a poltergeist.
He was cut from the first movie basically because of time. They didn't have time to put everything they wanted in the movie, so they ended up cutting him.
This is another point that proves how the series is something really cool and will be able to go deeper in a way the movies couldn't. Since he was cut from the first movie, and both films were directed by Chris Columbus, there's no reason for the character to appear in the second movie since he wasn't introduced earlier. So, they cut him, and then the director changed. He wasn't in the first one, so it didn't make sense to add him in the others, and the character ended up forgotten. And most people who haven't read the books have no idea who Peeves is. And yeah, Peeves is really annoying. That's his role. To be annoying, to irritate, to make us angry, and at the same time, to make us have fun. At the same time that he's chaotic, he also gets some laughs. He's not a court jester. He's not just there to be funny. No, he's there to be chaotic, to scare people, you know? Like, man, he's going to snitch on the students. It gives you that feeling like, wow, now we're screwed, man. Damn, Peeves, now we're screwed. He's here. He's going to snitch, you know?
It's like that he likes to see chaos. And it's really like that. It's chaos. Pure chaos.
When Sirius is captured and is about to suffer, right? About to get the Dementor's kiss, Peeves is singing, super happy that this is happening. He simply wants to see destruction, wants to see chaos. It's really chaos, the purest chaos. And then, it's cool that Peeves, in the Battle of Hogwarts, he fights there to defend Hogwarts. That's really cool. So, like, he's a character, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing the midnight duel scene that happens in Philosopher's Stone, which is when they end up meeting Fluffy, you know?
I'm really looking forward to seeing that scene happen. I'm really looking forward to seeing Peeves.
In that part, Peeves, he tells Filch, right, when he finds the students there, Harry and Ron, Hermione is with them because she wants to stop Harry and Ron from doing things, since they're not friends yet. And Neville is with them just because he got locked out, since he forgot the password after coming back from the hospital wing, after breaking his arm. And then, the four of them are together. Ron trips over a suit of armor, makes a lot of noise. Peeves shows up there. And then he starts shouting that there were students out of bed. And then, Filch arrives, but they hide behind the door where Fluffy is, right? And then, when Filch tells Peeves to say where they were, right where the students were, Peeves plays a trick on Filch and says he wouldn't say anything unless he said please, right? And then Filch says please, and Peeves shouts nothing, because that's exactly what he said. If you said please, I'd say nothing. So he makes fun of Filch there.
Man, another moment I'm really looking forward to is seeing Peeves salute Fred and George when they cause chaos and leave Hogwarts.
And him kicking Umbridge out of Hogwarts, hitting Umbridge on the head with McGonagall's cane.
Look at how many cool parts the character has in the books, and they're just not in the movies, because they were cut, you know? And with the series, we have the chance to see all of that, and that's something that's confirmed, you know? Peeves has been confirmed since the beginning. Since the first interviews the producers gave, they said, "You're going to have a lot of fun watching Peeves causing chaos in the halls of Hogwarts."
And now, finally, we have the face of the person who will play Peeves. Peter Serafinowicz is very versatile, right?
He's been a comedian and actor for a long time. He has a pretty extensive career, more than 20 years in the business.
He was in some well-known movies. You might not remember him in those films, but for example, he did the voice of Darth Maul in Star Wars back in the 2000s.
He was in Dawn of the Dead alongside Nick Frost, who plays Hagrid in the series, and Simon Pegg, who is Arthur Weasley in the Harry Potter immersive audiobook.
And there's a lot of speculation among fans that he might play Arthur in the series as well.
And Simon Pegg also voiced Sirius Black's great-great-grandfather in Hogwarts Legacy, who is Phineas Nigellus Black.
So he's one of the favorites to play Arthur Weasley. He was also in Guardians of the Galaxy, where he's a member of the Nova Corps.
He was in the live-action version of How to Train Your Dragon. He's Snotlout's father, one of the Viking warriors there. From Berk, right? From the island of Berk. Anyway, and he has several TV shows anyway. There are several sketches with him, several British sketches with him.
He's very versatile, very expressive too. So I think that's going to be really good for playing Peeves. Because I imagine Peeves pulling these sort of demonic, chaotic expressions. Like, at the same time they're funny, but scary, you know? So I think it really matched the character. And then, if you look at the concept art that shows up in the documentary, it's actually pretty similar, right?
Now that we know it's him, the face that's drawn in the concept art really does look a lot like the actor.
Now, one thing I'm really curious to see about Peeves in the series is how they're going to adapt the character, if they're going to make him small. Because in the books, he's described like that, kind of small and all, like, man, he's a spirit, so he doesn't have a big stature, right? He's like, kind of like a Harlequin, you know? With Harlequin clothes. And then he has those little pointy ears and all. In Pottermore, he's illustrated as being smaller. Let's put it this way. He has the stature of a teenager, of a child. But he's actually an adult, you know? Like, it's kind of like that. And then, the actor is 1.92 meters tall. I'm curious to know if they're going to make the character the same height as the actor, or if they're going to do it this way. Because many times, he appears floating, flying, doing flips in the air, you know? Man, I'm really looking forward to seeing the midnight duel scene. That's in the first season. And I bet here. Shall we bet? Shall we bet? Peeves is going to show up in the trailer, man. He's definitely going to show up in the trailer. At least one little appearance, he's going to show up. He'll make a quick little appearance in the trailer. I'm really confident that's going to happen, man. Really confident. That was the most recent and biggest news we've had, right? And it didn't come from HBO or the Harry Potter profile, but it came from Variety. So, you can count on it. They posted it exclusively. So, they got this news to share there. Last week, or about 2 weeks ago, we also found out that the actress Chloe Zhao will play Morgana Le Fay on the Chocolate Frog cards. It's a quick little appearance, but it's cool. Because, it shows up in the book. It's mentioned in the book. Ron gets that card, he has 6 of those cards. And it's cool that even for the cards, they're hiring actors to play the characters. So you can expect that other actors and actresses will be hired.
Or maybe they already have been, but we haven't had access to the information about which characters they're going to play there.
But since the actress who plays Morgana Le Fay was hired, probably the ones who will appear on the other cards, who are mentioned, like Angus de Woodcroft, Merlin, Cleo Gainey, Cornelius Agrippa, have probably already been hired as well. So, tell me, did you like the casting for Peeves? Are you excited to see this little rascal? Because his role at Hogwarts, yeah, his role in the story is exactly that. To be a little troublemaker who causes chaos and makes us feel angry, then happy, then laugh, and then even angrier. Anyway, that's, man, when it comes to the Chamber of Secrets part, it's him who finds Harry there when Justin Finch Fletchley is petrified.
And he goes out screaming like, Potter attacked again. Stuff like that, He's such a little troublemaker, man.
He doesn't even know if it was Harry, but he just wants to stir up chaos there. So, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing him, really. I'm a fan of Peeves. He doesn't show up in the movies, right?
But anyone who plays the Harry Potter games knows that he shows up in a bunch of different game media. Both in the Harry Potter games for PlayStation 1 and PC, right? And also for Game Boy. And he also shows up in Hogwarts Legacy.
Anyway, Peeves is a character who is part of the Harry Potter folklore of Hogwarts itself. So it's really essential for him to be in the series. He needs to be there, and it's going to be really cool to see him causing chaos. At least that's how I see it. If you think Peeves is annoying and that he should be cut from the series like he was in the movies, you can't be my friend. Poof, I'm just kidding. Thanks. See you next episode of The Leaky Cauldron. Until then, mischief managed.